In my experience, many churches pride themselves on being welcoming, but actually not nearly as welcoming as they think they are. Actually giving people a great pile of books and smiling at them as they arrive is not necessarily very welcoming, and sometimes welcoming actually means we all know each other and like each other, and therefore many new people arriving can actually feel quite excluded. Well, if this is true for ordinary people, it's doubly, trebly true for people with learning disabilities. And so if you're really going to make people welcome, not only have you got to pay attention to very practical things to enable people simply to enter the building and take part in the service, you also need to consider their spiritual needs. The way the Christian faith is communicated and celebrated is different for different people. And therefore every church that is going to be truly welcoming has to think through, how will we enable this person or this group of people to truly participate in the service, feel included in the service, and be able to express their faith in the ways that are appropriate for them.
If I could just say one thing to the church about what would be really helpful in supporting families who have a child or children with disabilities, I think it would be just to accept that family as they are, to love them the same as you would any other family. I think for Gareth, his Christian faith has been helped tremendously by friends, by having people in church who have simply accepted him just as he is. He is very able and very independent in many ways, but for him to have friends of the similar kind of age was really important. Gareth loves music, and for him being in a church that has the kind of music that he actually enjoys is really important. He loves to go to Soul Survivor and steward there, be part of the team. For him, actually being part of the team is really important, and I know he's looking forward to being a team leader, which he would be very able to do. I think recently what's been really important for her is being in a church where she can have access to everything in the same way as everybody else. As a family, we can take communion. Amy will take communion with us if she can do it in the same way. She will not take communion if it's brought to her. She wants to be able to go up to the altar rail with everybody else. She also loves to be involved in all sorts of ways. She may appear to be bored, but actually if you ask her if she'd like to take the collection, the whole of the service will suddenly become alive for her, because she feels that she's involved, she has a purpose, and she may be asking several times up until the point where the collection is taken, when it's going to be, but for her that's real involvement.
If a family in a church has a child with a disability, the best thing the church can do is just to accept that family as any other family, and that child just the same as any other child. Just be there for the parents and listen to what they have to say and what they're going through, and be there to pray for them and support them. But most of all, just to accept that that child is loved by God, and God sees the child on the inside, doesn't see the outward appearance.
Thinking about family life, I think for any family to have somebody as a part of the family who has learning difficulties does have a big impact, and I would encourage, if you know a family who has a member with learning difficulties, do try and spend a little time with that family to get an understanding of what life is like on a daily basis and the impact for the family and the household. Also to spend time to ask the person with learning difficulty maybe if they would like to have a cup of tea round at the friend's house, or to go out for an hour or two in what is perhaps just a very normal social time for a lot of us, but may not happen naturally for somebody who has a learning difficulty. And to think about giving the family a break just for an hour or two can be immensely valuable and greatly appreciated.
There have been times when perhaps people with learning difficulties have done things in church where the church has had to learn to accept different behaviour and different responses to what's being said in church, and certainly the answers to the rhetorical questions, which other preachers aren't always used to. One of the most helpful things that a family with learning difficulties needs is to have somebody there to listen to them, because you meet up with all sorts of problems that perhaps other people don't meet up with, and you need somebody to be able to talk to. As a parent, you need to be able to talk with somebody who understands, and somebody who has the same faith that can really share and sometimes pray with oneself as well, because that's really what's needed, is the support and encouragement.
And as far as work with prospects goes, you know, our group, I think we must never ever underestimate what God does in people's lives. You know, people that can't talk, you just see that God ministers to them, and you know, even the people in our group that haven't got a lot of language, they sometimes come out with words that you just never thought they would say, or ways they react you would never expect. I think, be positive and be prepared to be surprised, you know, at what people can contribute.
I think a comment perhaps we had from one of the carers of one of the ladies who comes to the group was that after she'd been coming to the group, they noticed a complete change in her character, and she was much more positive about things and much more positive about life, and had been much easier to get on with in her accommodation.
Yeah.